Welcome to the Spectrum Connection, a podcast hosted by Jess
and Elise. As two mums of neurodivergent kids, we are here to share our experiences, insights, and advice with other parents navigating this unique journey.
Join us as we discuss everything from daily challenges to breakthrough moments, all with a focus on understanding and celebrating neurodivergence. Let's talk about sleep.
Big one.
Yeah. One that I think impacts both of us, our lives, and a lot of our community's lives. And it's a very popular topic again, but I just wanted to give a shout out to Bree Ray 11. She said in one of our reels, "Thank you. I needed this today. I was only saying how much my parents would be appalled at the different locations of eating and screen time." So that's really cool. I love that we can normalize things for people. It's really fun.
Yeah. Good thing about finding a community, isn't it? When you can relate and you're not the only one doing it. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
we'll go into the self-care. Yeah. I don't know.
Do something for yourself. I feel like sometimes we overthink self-care. It's just like if you have a spare minute or two, and I know it shouldn't be just a minute or two, but if that's all you have, do something that's going to help you. And that might just be having a cup of tea, sitting down for 2 seconds, not worrying about the washing or anything like that.
Yeah. And I think even on days where it's like there's no time for extras, just to sit and think, okay, have I got my daily needs met? Like my basic needs. Have I drank enough water? Have I had something to eat? Sleep should be on that list, but we know that that's not always an option. So
do you know what's funny is, I have been seeing a lot of things, and maybe this is because I'm not sleeping well, but I think I've seen a lot of things online of people saying how important sleep is and how much it impacts everything. And it's like, it also almost comes across as like people that like to stay up late at night and don't get enough sleep. And it's like, you should be sleeping better, but it's like in our situations, we can't control the amount of sleep we're having. And so it's like kind of frustrating in that way because we have no control over it. And
I think too, like I'm working with a nutritionist for my health. Like I keep saying health, but I'm trying to lose some weight, right? That's just, for health reasons, I'm focusing on that. But that's, why I'm seeing a nutritionist and why I'm trying to do all these things. And I keep mentioning, make sure you get adequate sleep and reduce your stress because, that affects your food. I'm like, yeah, two things that I cannot do anything about. Thank you.
I went to an exercise program where they said, because you had to track like your sleep and your eating, and they're like, why aren't you sleeping well? I'm like, I don't have control over that. And they're like, well, you got to try and do better. I'm like, what? Yeah. I can't try any better than I am now. But yeah, it's an interesting one. And I think one that has hugely impacted my life, I will say, and my family's life, sleep is something that's, sleep disturbances, something that's experienced by a lot of neurodivergent people. And I have a statistic, but I don't know if you have the same one.
Yeah, you want to compare?
I wrote this down a couple of weeks ago, but it was like 40 to 80% of children who are autistic struggle with sleep, compared to 20 to 40% of typically developing children.
Yeah. So when I did my lit review for uni and I compiled it, it was 80%.
Okay.
Like if you go through there's not much research out there, but so you're in the same, ballpark figure. That might have just been like one study that had that 40 to 80%. But I think a lot of the studies that I read were all up near that 80. So it's more like 80%.
Insane to me
a
to
lot.
think about the impact that has on everything else that they do. For example, like just concentration during the day and just eating. It can impact so many different things. And it's something that there's no sort of support for. There are things you can try, but when all the options are out and you've done everything, you're often
Yeah.
left with, well, that's just how it's going to be, you know?
Yeah.
Mm. And I think a lot of people will relate to this sleeping difficulties. And it's often a conversation that when I'm talking to neurotypical families, I kind of shut down. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to relate or compare sleeping patterns because it's just not on the same page. I just this morning saw someone say, post on Facebook, how do I get out of the 5 a.m. club? And I'm like, how do I get out of the 1 a.m. club? Because I want to get out of that one. I'm like, that's a sleep in for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of like, I don't like to generalize, but like neurotypical kids kind of phase out of that
Yeah.
generally, that 5 a.m. or whatever the sleep problems are. They get older and they phase out and it's not a thing anymore. It just seems to be like a conversation for that early days. But for us, it's a conversation like ongoing, the never ending story.
Yeah. And I think people have the best intentions when they talk to me about sleep. Have you tried this? Or why don't you nap during the day? It's my least favorite one. I'm like, yeah, I never thought about that. You know,
Sleep when the baby's sleeping.
when would I work? When would I, anyway, I don't thrive off naps during the day. It doesn't do me very well, so I don't do it. But when like the 10th person has said, you should go nap, I'm like, yeah, so should you. Go
Yeah.
nap.
Yeah, and you hear it all the time. Like you said, they're well-meaning because they're wanting to help. That's just your natural instinct is like, oh, someone has a problem and they're
Yeah.
looking for a solution or whatever. But when you've tried the solutions over and over and over again and they don't help, it's just like waving it in your face that
Mm.
there's no other options left. Like I've tried all them and yeah. Tell me something I don't know. Tell me something
Yeah.
new I
Yeah.
haven't heard before. Yeah.
It's a conversation I have over and over again with parents in the community, and one that I can't ever be helpful with, but I think it's helpful just talking about it and knowing that you're not alone in it, because it can really severely impact you, lack of sleep.
Yeah. And I
And
think we both have challenges with sleep with our kids, but I think we are our challenges are different because from what I understand from your end is it's not really getting Jacob to sleep that's challenging, it's keeping him asleep,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
but he's medicated. So he gets medicine. We've tried various medication to go to sleep. So that helps him get to sleep. He never used to be able to get to sleep. So I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the medication definitely helps him to get to sleep. But like when he was a toddler or like a baby in a cot, he used to, I don't know if this is really bad to say. He used to jump in his bed, in his cot, like just jump up and down for like 3, 4 hours before he fell asleep. And we
Yeah.
used to just leave him because if we were in there, it was no difference. He was just jumping and he would not go to sleep. And no matter how we tried, like, he didn't really like rocking, like things like that. He needed that jumping to go to sleep. And so we just left him. And eventually we found melatonin and that helped. But yeah, it's just more the waking up after the 4 hour mark of medication. And your kids stay up late, is that right?
Yeah, so they don't generally go to sleep even with melatonin, like
Yeah,
push melatonin and yeah, so and I like the same thing. I've tried all different things, different sleep routines, different
yeah,
everything. I mean, we're just going back to that lit review when I was at uni doing a research proposal was like sleep, and I like dived deep into all the research, and there wasn't a great deal out of there, and everything that I read was just the same stuff that I tried, and even the research that I read said, these things worked for X amount of people, but it wasn't consistent, or there was no struggling with this, do this, and it works. Like there's nothing like that.
yeah.
Um,
I
there's a
think
lot of like
doctors, sorry, I think doctors are like a bit not sure either. Like a lot of
yeah.
them have just sort of given up when I talk about it. They're just like, oh, you're still not sleeping. Yeah, like, and it's like we've exhausted all options. And that surprises me that there's not more research done about it because it's such a prominent issue
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. And I like, there was just the few things that came up were just all around like sleep hygiene and sleep like routine, screens before bed. That was like a lot of them that come up. And that was kind of part of my research proposal because I think I've got it here somewhere, showing that children who use screens in the lead up to bedtime had a sleep onset delay of approximately 40 minutes compared to just 16 minutes of the children who did not watch screens prior to bed. And I was like, that's great. But for kids like mine, I can't even get them in bed sometimes without screens. So, and 40 minutes, 40 minutes. Oh my God. If my kids
Nothing.
take 40 minutes to go to sleep, I am cheering. I am having a party. I am like, that's what I want. 40 minutes to go to sleep would be the best.
Nothing.
So that research, like, I was just like, well, my research proposal is
Yeah. I was
read that.
going to say that too, like getting Jacob to settle his body down doesn't like we can't do that without a screen. It's not
Yeah,
possible. So
yeah.
it is his tool to go to sleep to calm his body down. So I don't know, that study is probably right, but then how they didn't talk about the before the going into bed part.
Yeah,
How long did
the
that take?
contextual thing, like all research, like it's very, or depending on the research, but it's very like we tried this and this is what the outcome was. But it's like, yeah, but different families, different, like what was their day like leading up to that? What sensory things were put in place? Like what, there's so many different things around that than just like, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's such a hard topic to talk about because there's no answer. It's and there is not much being done about it, and this is something that can really impact our kids and ourselves not getting enough sleep. Like I did the bad thing and I read the bad statistics the other day about all of the effects of sleep deprivation, even just having 1 hour less of sleep a night, which I definitely have way under that. All of these health conditions that link to like sleep deprivation, that scared me. That scared me for Jacob. And he's only 7. So just like the way that this is impacting him, and I can't do anything about it. Like we've tried everything. I still get messages to this day. Have you tried melatonin? And I'm like,
Melatonin helps to get to sleep, doesn't help to stay asleep, which
yeah,
is your challenge, is to help him stay asleep. And I'm just thinking now, like if he's not staying asleep for long periods of time, that melatonin is probably working really well because come bedtime when he's had melatonin, his body's exhausted. So
yeah,
it doesn't take much to like put him to sleep. Whereas my kids, they sleep right. I don't want to rub it in, but they sleep like until 7. Like so I
yeah.
have to 7, 8, because they go to bed later, so they sleep later. But in saying that, like my oldest two are only just starting to sleep through the night. Like
Yeah.
my now 5-year-old will sleep through the night mostly, or he'll like come into our bed, or at the moment he's just sleeping in our bed because we just sleep wherever and one's going to sleep so we can sleep. But my 3-year-old, like last night, I think she woke up 4 to 5 times
Mm,
and wanting milk or wanting something, and I have to get up. So that broken sleep is what does it for me. Like I've had broken sleep for 11 years now because of the amount of children I've had, and just flows on. I've had it for 11 years of just getting up every night,
yeah.
half sleep like a zombie and thing. But I can't, like, I never had what you're experiencing where you're like up at midnight, 1 o'clock for the day. Like
Well, it's just different,
I'm
isn't
not
it?
a morning person, so I think that would destroy me. That would destroy me.
It's not morning either. It's like
Yeah,
night.
yeah, it's still dark. Still dark. It's the AM, but it's still dark. Yeah.
Jazz wakes up because Jacob's quite loud when he wakes up, so she'll often come out, walk out, and I'll be like, "The sun's not up. We should just go back to sleep," and pretend like I'm putting Jacob to back to bed. He's not going back to bed, and she'll be like talking about how the sky is dark, and it is interesting because like I think a lot of parents will use that tactic with their kids. It's like you can't get up until the sun comes up, and I'm like,
Yeah,
it's
what's them
only
road
that
clocks or whatever they're
easy.
called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it
Yeah,
were
I've tried
only
one of
that
them before
easy,
back in the day.
we got one too. I have bought everything. I think I've bought everything.
I've sewn my own weighted blanket back when weighted blankets weren't really a thing. Like they
Did you?
weren't on the market. You could just go down the shops and buy one. They were just like the online, they're really expensive. I was like, is it going to work? It's not going to work. I
Mm.
got a doona cover and I bought the little tiny bead things and I sat there and sewed two of them up when I just had two children back then. We
Good
still have
on
them. They're
you.
still getting used. They're
Good on you.
washed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but
My mom
that's
made
how
one too.
yeah, that's how dedicated I was. They were only little, and I'm like, you know, they're at my feet at the sewing machine as I'm like, hope this works. Hope this helps tonight. After all my energy, didn't really help. Helps a little
You know,
bit. One child loved it. One child absolutely hated it. I'm like,
yeah.
yeah,
It's all like chance. And it just
yeah,
makes me laugh because I think back to that time, like when I was going through the throes of it all. I still am, but it always has been like this. But when you're kind of in that stage where you're trying everything, right? I
yeah.
just remember thinking every single time we got something new, I'm like, this is gonna work. We're gonna sleep tonight. And like we got like
And it
the
works one time, and you're like, yes, I found it. And then the next night it doesn't work, and you're like,
yeah.
crap. Do I throw it or do I try again?
Oh, we've got everything. We've got weighted blankets. We had the grow clocks. We had a lavender diffuser. We had,
Oh, I tried the essential oils and it hyped my kid up.
oh, really?
Lavender hyped kids up. It has all the observe, like the reverse effects. So that was a great couple of nights. That one. I've tried different essential oils since, and I don't know. I don't know if they work or not. I don't know. And I'm really bad at like I use it for a little while, and I think I don't really like it. Might help a little bit, but nothing like I actually need it to, and then I just
Hmm.
give up and then don't.
Talking about
Yeah.
like balancing sensitivities, I really don't like strong scents. Like I don't wear perfume. I don't do anything like that. So I really had to like put myself out when trying essential oils because they just get into my brain. I don't like it. They're just really give
Yeah,
me
yeah.
headaches. But yeah, tried that, tried various medications, tried to get a sleep study. We're told that Jacob probably wouldn't do it. So like, because you have to put all the things on your head. Like,
Yeah, we've done sleep study with
um,
my oldest. I haven't gone back for any of the other kids because I figure
did he do it?
what's yeah, he did it. He was 3 at the time, I think, two,
Okay.
3. Back, yeah, prior to diagnosis when I was like doing all the thing and thinking, oh, I think he's got ADHD, and then reading, oh, it could be sleep and not things. So I'm like, well, let's rule that out. And he was terrible. Like he'd always been a terrible sleeper, like 20-minute cat naps type thing. So yeah, they told me they had sleep apnea and restless leg syndrome. So we went to ENT, but ENT said they could take his tonsils and all that out, but it wouldn't make a difference because they weren't actually obstructing anything. I
Okay.
don't know if they gave me the right advice now because now I'm diving into speech therapy with another child and his mouth breather, and now I have to get like 2 kids, take them to the ENT, and yeah, so it's all a thing. I don't know if that was the right advice, but that was the advice I was given back then. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
where
the
it's
thing. You got to take everything with a grain of salt, like what you've been told.
yeah. So we
We,
had one ENT look at him, like look up his nose. I don't know how he could see anything, but he just had a quick look and said, yeah, we'll take the lot. Like I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, it didn't really sit right with me. So I went and got a second opinion, and he sent him for like x-rays and that kind of stuff. And then he said, oh, there'd be no point. Like it's just his bone structure because he's indigenous. So he thought that it would just fix itself type thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's so
We
hard.
don't know because we're not like, yeah, we're not the
Yeah.
experts in the field. And Jacob
Mm.
went to an ENT and we got his adenoids removed, sorry, at the beginning of this year. And I was so hopeful. Like this was the last thing that we hadn't done. And I was so hopeful. He slept really well for like a week after the surgery. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it worked. And then it just went, "Ooh," like really bad. And I'm
Where
like,
my brain was like, that's the after effects of anesthetic. And then I'm like, no, don't think.
probably was. And I think I just like had myself fall into that false, I don't know. It was just the last thing. And then now we're at this space where there's no more, there's nothing else we can try. And so, yeah, I know that a lot of you guys experience sleep issues as well. And we got quite a few comments and questions. So I might read out a few of them. Someone said, "What sleep? Both our kiddos struggle to sit still their bodies enough to sleep." Sorry, I can't sleep. I can't speak right now.
I
We didn't
think
sleep well last night.
because of lack of sleep. There we go. There's a slogan. Fed is best and can't speak from a lack of sleep.
That's right. Yeah, it's the stilling of the bodies. I feel like I don't know if Jacob's ADHD does impact on his ability to fall asleep, and like you know how you have to fully calm your body and regulate it in order to fall asleep. I don't know if
Yeah.
that has something to do
Well,
with
the research that I found was talking a lot about the sensory impact on sleep
it.
for that reason, being regulated and things like in the sleep environment, you know, like temperature, what they're wearing, the clothes,
Oh,
the
yeah.
bed sheets, the like regulating temperatures. Even one of the studies was talking about woolen blankets being the best like thing because the material regulates itself or something. So to keep temperatures right or something to that effect. So I was like chucking on woolen blankets on the kids, but I don't think it made a difference.
Another thing you bought. I think,
Like one of the knitted blankets. And I can't stand the texture of wool. So when I was reading that, I'm like, really? I'm gonna put that on the bed. Like I put it on top because I'm like, I wouldn't like to sleep with the wool on me. I
yeah,
ick from that, but
I had it
yeah.
growing up. My mum had us get wool blankets and I hated it. But she wrapped like the sheet on underneath and wrapped it around so I didn't have to actually touch it, which is an
Gotcha, yeah.
idea. I might try that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I'm in this space of like no expectations for things anymore.
Yeah.
This is an interesting question. Do you think autistic kids can be on the other end of the scale and sleep lots? Lucky. I'm joking.
I think probably. Like I don't know, I haven't looked into any research around that, but I could probably imagine if you're like exhausted from your environment, like you're hyper, you know, sensitive to things, I think that would be exhausting
Yeah,
for some people, maybe.
the movement as well during the day and just like like just societal pressures can be exhausting. So I imagine that would be take a toll and you need to sleep a lot. When did Jacob's lack of sleep start to happen? Ever since he was a baby.
I
Remember
remember for Richie, my eldest, what was that book? Save
Save
Our
Our
Sleep or
Sleep?
something. Yeah. First time parent, kid wouldn't sleep. I'm like reading the book, tried the things, none of it worked. One of them things again where I like look back on it, I'm heartbroken that I even tried that because he
Yeah.
needed the movement. Like I needed to rock and sway and walk and do all the things to get him to sleep. And so trying to just put him in a cot and let him cry a bit like that. Anyway, I
Yeah.
threw that book away when I had my second child. I just threw it in the bin.
Burn
Sorry to that
it.
author if they're ever listening, but don't like your methods, don't like your book. Sorry. Not sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I think when you're in that state of desperation as well, like sleep deprivation does impact you so much. You're going to try things and there's might be things that you do regret. Like I definitely tried to sleep train Jacob. I was kind of at a loss of what to do. So I obviously tried
Yeah.
that because we were really exhausted. Jacob would wake up every 2 hours without a doubt every single night for
Yeah,
his
and that's
first.
why we did too, the whole sleep cycle thing. I'm like, he can't get through to the next sleep cycle, so it must be the way he's putting himself to sleep. But maybe he's not getting through the next sleep cycle because I'm not there rocking him.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe that's Jacob's thing. Is he
Mm.
can't. I don't know. Who
It's an
knows?
interesting one. I brought up like baby Jacob a little while ago on Instagram, and a lot of people said that their kids were diagnosed with colic or they were very fussy babies. They didn't sleep, they didn't feed well. And it's interesting. I wonder if there's kind of like a link there. And it
Yeah,
might even just be those sensory needs that they didn't get.
yeah, we got the silent reflux
Mm.
diagnosis,
Yeah.
him and
Don't think it
yeah,
was the thing. It's probably just not getting their
sensory.
sensory needs met.
Yeah,
Jacob was like constantly needing to be bounced when awake, but when it was time for sleep, he didn't want it. So it was bizarre.
yeah.
Someone said, my child is medicated and still doesn't sleep. Feel like it's getting worse. If it's not working, yeah, you just have to reevaluate. I think when you try things, you have to try it for a little while and just reflect on it. Is it working? Is it not working? Pros, cons, things like that.
And I think for kids who struggle to sleep too, some of the reason like can be an anxiety thing because my older boys were a lot worse to get to sleep when they were at school. They
Mm,
needed me to sit with them, to lie with them. Maybe it was like talking about their day, or they just needed, like, they didn't feel safe in their body. They just wanted someone there. But I have not had to sit with them since we've pulled them out, like the first week or so. I haven't sat with my older two to put them to sleep since they've been out of school. They put themselves to sleep now. Like I have a rule like off games. Like we have dinner off games. Doesn't always follow the rules, but and they've got bedrooms upstairs, so it's hard to monitor. But yeah, that's the thing. And like I don't mind them having screens, but just off the active
mm,
game type stuff. And I'll just say to them like it's bedtime now, and they'll just go and put themselves to bed. My eldest actually, which who was my worst sleeper out of all of them, he just feels when he's tired now and just puts himself to bed. Like I'll go up there to say, hey, buddy, you probably should go to bed. And he's already fast asleep. I'm like,
that's so
that's just
cool.
a
So
new
it
thing.
definitely was the anxiety
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
It makes me it makes me often wonder about Jacob, but because he can't really express whether he is anxious at
Yeah.
school or not, I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting how
Yeah. And it's hard
anxiety
for him because he can't
impacts him.
explain to you about his day or something that happened or
Mm,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a bit hard. Someone said the nightly battle of supporting to fall asleep, knowing that they will be up in your bed in a few hours. Yeah, I think someone else talked about bedtime anxiety in parents, and I definitely experienced that.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah.
like just, and you often feel guilty for feeling that way, but it's very valid because you don't
And
know
I
how
think
to
when you're exhausted yourself too, and you're waiting up for the kids to go to sleep. That is the bit that like gets me. Like my eyes are hanging out of my head, and I'm just like, please just sleep. So like I've been in tears some nights. Like it's that bad. I
Yeah.
just, and it's not their fault, and I get frustrated with them. Like,
Mm.
will literally say, "Can you just please go to sleep?" And they're looking at me like, "Hello,
I'm
I'm
awake.
trying. I'm here, aren't I?" And you know,
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's a real thing. And especially if you can't just put your kid to bed so easily as some people can, it yes, you get anxiety, you get anxious that you're not going to get your sleep in. You get anxious that it's going to turn into you just don't know what's going to happen that night, whether they're going to go to sleep, whether they're going to sleep in an hour, whether they're going to sleep in 3 hours. And yeah, I personally don't enjoy it just because Jacob will wake for a really long time during the night. And in that time, I can't talk to anyone. I can't, get any type of support. It's just me and Jacob. And he's often having like, because he has ADHD, he's not medicated at night. And so he's flying off the walls, really. And so that
yeah,
does impact me a lot as well. Is like, because I have to supervise him. And so it's not only that I have to be awake at those hours with him and he has to be awake at those hours. It's just the constant supervision that I have to give him to keep him safe and see him distressed almost every night, yeah, which a lot of people do experience as well. So yeah, definitely a valid thing, bedtime anxiety.
yeah.
Someone said sleep was an issue for us until we got tonsils and adenoids removed, plus diet change. Yeah. I think for some of our kids, it does help. I've heard of a few people saying that it helps.
Yeah.
Who
But I
knows?
think it comes down to what is the reason that they're not sleeping. Like there's several reasons why someone has trouble sleeping, not just one. And they just struck luck that they found the reason why the child
Yeah.
wasn't sleeping and could address that. But like the likes of Jacob and things, and there's no research out there explaining it, or you can't get to the bottom of why he's not sleeping. Well, how do you address something that you don't know? Like,
Yeah. And I think that
very
comes
good
to the
knowledge.
question that someone else had was, does melatonin work? It's like, it's all dependent on what is the reason behind their lack of sleep. If they have low amounts of melatonin in their body, then obviously a melatonin supplement would help. However, it doesn't help everyone because not everyone is lacking melatonin. So, that's definitely something that helped Jacob, but you've just said that it doesn't help your kids. So it's just dependent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we still give it, and sometimes I have a break. If they have a break from it, there's a big, like, you can tell the difference the nights that they haven't had it. But when they have it still takes a very, very long time.
Mm.
I think the thing says half an hour before bed or something. And I'm like, half an hour. Got
It's
a
half
couple
an
of
hour.
hours there. And I've tried all different times giving it to them, and it doesn't make a difference.
It's about an
Yeah.
hour for Jacob, but it definitely works. So I guess in that way it's helpful. But then it is known to wake them up. Like it's not known to keep them asleep. So
Sleep. Yeah.
you just got to reassess everything and see how they're going. It's also good to consult with your doctor with any of these things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't want people to be out there trying things just because Jacob's trying them. So, yeah, definitely go to a doctor first and then discuss it with them.
Yeah.
Make your decision.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like this was a good topic to have, especially today. Like recently, sleep hasn't been great. So it's kind of like therapeutic for me to talk about.
To talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I often, like, sleep's not great for me either, but honestly, I don't know, like, completely different, but I feel like I don't think I could I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't think I could cope with them. I mean, you don't have a choice. You're not coping either, but yeah, you get what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And, I think, everyone's story is different. Everyone's, challenges are different. Everyone's strengths are different. And it's just the reality of it all.
Yeah.
We will pop up a reel on this topic and you guys can contribute there. It's also cool just to talk to one another in those posts and just sort of relate on that level.
Yeah. Share experiences and things.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. And I hope that everyone here is watching gets a good night of sleep tonight,
Yeah. The
including
sleep
me.
fairies. Remember the other week I sent the sleep fairies to you and they didn't come to me? Remember that? I sent you a message and I hope you get some sleep tonight. I hope the sleep fairies come. And I had been having good sleep. And then that night I was up all night and I was like, yep, you can give them back to me now. I've given
And
them to you.
Jacob
You had
did
a good
sleep
night's sleep.
well. Jacob slept
Yeah, I know.
well that night. Yeah. So can
There's
you
only limited sleep fairies to go around. Okay. So let's just share them.
send them back to me? All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.